Oh, it's part of something very much bigger indeed, of course, because the Northern Ireland Protocol also comes into this, and our whole relationship with the European Union comes into it. I mean, the first thing I think this dispute shows is just how awful the fisheries part of the withdrawal agreement with the European Union was, because here we have hundreds of French boats able to fish up to 6 miles from British coasts, and we have virtually zero access in the 6 to 12 mile range off the French coast. So we've got a very, very bad deal, but that was the deal. And indeed, it was a treaty between us and the European Union. And now what you've got is France wanting to willfully breach that treaty. Why? Well, because we've allowed licenses to French boats to fish up to our 6 mile line if they could show historic fishing access in our waters and indeed in Jersey's waters as well. And here we have a couple of dozen French boats who say they have no records. They can't prove they were fishing in our waters, which means, given that fishing boats have to have logbooks, they're almost admitting they were fishing illegally in our waters in the first place. So we have stuck to the letter of the agreement. The French, having got an incredible deal out of all of this, now want the earth and think they can bully us into submission. And the European Union are effectively turning a blind eye because it's the French that are keen to breach the treaty. If it was Poland or somebody else, they'd have come down like a ton of bricks. So the question now, given we have a deadline coming up tomorrow, and a very threatening deadline, in the case of Jersey, they could withdraw electricity, they could launch a barricade of St Helier Harbour. So the situation is serious. What do we do? Well, I'll tell you what, I've got a really good idea. This year, and this has been brushed under the carpet, I think, but this year we're paying the European Union £7.5 billion as part of our withdrawal agreement. Next year, we're paying the EU over £5 billion. And a proportionate and reasonable response that might actually get the European Union to talk some sense into President Macron is we say we will withhold payments of that divorce bill until the European Union make the French sort this out. And that, I think, is the only thing, effectively, Boris Johnson can do in the next 24 hours to try and put an end to this.
That, Nigel, means we renege on another promise that we've made in the past, that we're already in a situation where the European Union, and indeed countries around the world not part of this, are saying, how can we trust Britain? They sign something and then they say they're not happy with it. You've got the European Commission Vice President who says he's increasingly concerned that the UK wants a path of confrontation. He's right, isn't he?
No, not really. I mean, these are the chickens coming home to roost, aren't they? I mean, the oven-ready deal that Boris Johnson sold to a British public that were tired of the whole thing, and who can blame them because it had dragged on for years, he was less than honest with us about how rotten this deal was. In this particular case, it's not us that would be in breach, because it is the French who are willfully trying to breach the treaty, and this is an unsensible response.
What do you say to those who say, look, 98% of this deal has been reached and agreed upon. We're talking about 50 licenses at best. Why not just give it to them? You know, it's more important that we remain friendly with our closest continental neighbour than get into what could be a really damaging trade war with them.
Because in truth, we've given them too much already. In truth, not only is it the British fishing industry and our coastal communities that are paying the price of this, but environmentally, and here we are, it's COP26, I can tell you from my own knowledge that what is happening to our Eastern Channel fish stocks is an environmental disaster. And for a government that says it wants to be green, I think we have to say we've already given far too much away. We can, in the years to come, look at this and renegotiate this. But for now, no more access to French boats. They're catching too many fish and shellfish already, and they have no legal entitlement under the treaty, under what we signed, for the rest of those boats. And I think this is a very important point of principle. And ultimately, it may come down to just how strong is Boris Johnson in defending the interests of the Channel Islanders, because they're the people really in the front line of this.